Hi, second grade writers. Welcome to Writing Lesson 2. Today we're going to continue to learn about how to do some scientific writing. Yesterday we learned how to observe closely and to write exactly what we see. Today we're going to continue that writing and we're going to think about different words that scientists use. Look at this list of words. We've already talked about some of them. We've already talked about how scientists observe, draw, label, and teach. Today we're going to learn some of these other words that scientists use when they're exploring and learning about a new topic and sharing their thoughts with others. Here's our goal for today. I can ask questions and observe an experiment to develop points for scientific writing. Are you ready to get started? You may have brought this paper home with you. It's called an experiment page, and it's one way that scientists can keep track of what they're observing and seeing during an experiment so they can write to teach others about it later. If you don't have this paper at home with you, that's okay. You can record your thoughts on a regular piece of paper. But if you have this at home, go ahead and go get it and then come back because we're going to fill it out together. Okay, are you ready? Let's get started learning how to write as a scientist. Let's talk about each of the boxes on this page. Put your finger on this box and say, question. Scientists always start with a question. They're wondering how something works or why it happens, or they have a question about nature around them. This is where you can record your question that you're going to be investigating. Put your finger on this box and say, hypothesis. Isn't that a fun word to say? Let's say it again. Hypothesis. A hypothesis is a fancy word for a guess or a thought about what might happen. It's like a prediction. What do you think is going to happen to answer your question? Scientists think about their hypothesis before they start, but they always keep their mind open that maybe their hypothesis might be wrong, and that's okay. That's why we do an experiment or an investigation. Put your finger on this box now and say materials. Materials are a list of all of the things that you're going to need in order to complete your investigation or your experiment. It's important for scientists to have a list of materials they need before they get started, because you would hate to be halfway through your experiment or investigation and suddenly have to go searching for something you don't have. So making a list of materials before you get started is really important. Put your finger on this box and say procedure. Procedure is a fancy way of saying the steps you need to take to follow the experiment or conduct your investigation. A lot of times you see the procedures listed in steps like this: first, second, third, fourth. You do these investigations so that you can discover the answer to your question. Put your finger on this box and say results. Yeah, results is a word that means this is what happened. This is where you can record exactly what happened during your experiment. This is where you'll see if your hypothesis was right, it was kind of right, or it was completely wrong. This helps us to learn and understand more about the topic that we're investigating. Are you ready to try it out with me? All right, we're going to try out an experiment using an egg and some vinegar. Here's the question that we're going to be investigating. How will vinegar affect an egg's shell? I wonder if vinegar will do anything to this egg. I want you to pause this recording and in your question box write that question. How will vinegar affect an egg's shell? Pause the recording and write the question. Okay, if you pushed play again, that means you wrote your question in this box or at the top of the paper if you don't have this box. Are you ready for the next step? Do you remember what a hypothesis is? That's right. It's a guess or a prediction about what will happen. I want you on your paper to write your hypothesis and then go to the next Nearpod slide and I want you to put your hypothesis on one of our collaboration boards so we can see what everyone's prediction is about what will happen. Okay? Write your hypothesis and then head to the next Nearpod slide.